5 traits that let you know you're dealing with a covert narcissist. The first one to watch out for is if you see a pattern of behavior that in psychology I've seen in different papers called withdrawn self-centeredness. So if you see the person actually withdrawing from life, withdrawing from people and becoming very, very self-centered in a sort of an isolated space, that is an indication of narcissism, that they're self-centered, but the covert narcissism is covered by the fact that they're withdrawing from the world. So why would they withdraw from the world and become self-centered? They're withdrawing from the world because of covert or vulnerable narcissism, which means that they think that they're amazing, they think that they're wonderful, they think that they're special, but largely speaking, they're struggling to convince the world that that's true. So when they get feedback from real people, and they're not just getting feedback from inside their head, it's creating multiple small narcissistic injuries, because largely people are going, actually, you're not particularly interesting, no, you're not very special, and they get negative feedback from the environment. In narcissistic personality disorder, remember, everything is all about this thing that we call the false self. They have a delusional view of themselves as all powerful, super sexy, super exciting, super interesting, the richest, the bravest, the most intelligent, the most qualified, whatever. That's the false self, right? Reality and truth are the enemy of the narcissist. They have to keep the reality and truth at bay in order to support the false self. So the perfect environment for them is to largely withdraw and become avoidant of the world, of people, of reality, and to become extremely self-centered. In another way, we could say that they're withdrawing into a world of their own creation that supports them in their fantastical and delusional view of themselves. The second trait that you're looking for is extreme hypersensitivity, particularly to criticism or negative feedback that comes from outside. They're extremely hypersensitive. Now, why would this be an indication of covert, vulnerable, or fragile narcissism? Simply because as a structure, as a personality formation, the architecture of the personality, when we're talking about covert, fragile, or vulnerable narcissism, is not stable. It's not very strong. It's not very robust. If the narcissist, if the human being who's using narcissistic personality disorder to cope with the harsh realities that we all have to face, if they're in a classic phase, a grandiose phase of narcissism, they've successfully convinced the world that they're amazing. And everybody go, you think you're amazing? Well, most of us agree, you are pretty amazing. Have this special treatment, enjoy your entitlement, go first, and so on. The covert, fragile, or vulnerable narcissist fails to convince other people. They can't bully or cajole or seduce other people into agreeing, into matching the treatment of them with their hyper-idealized self-image. So their narcissistic supply is low, it's patchy, it's not high quality, so they're kind of like a junkie struggling to get good junk. And so they become fragile and they become hypersensitive to criticism because there's already an internal voice. It's called a superego injunction or an inner critic that's already badgering them, that's already telling them you're useless, you're no good. And they feel a lot of shame because their entitlement is up here, the treatment they get from the world is down here. That disparity creates the stress, the somatic stress in the body that we call cognitive dissonance. They then become extremely hypersensitive to new sources of narcissistic injury that are reminding them, kid, you ain't that special.